Get ready for the ultimate dose of inspiration and knowledge with the Give Me 5 podcast. Host Chris Gilmour shares actionable tips on a different topic each episode. Tune in now and elevate your life with Chris Gilmour.
Should we start? Clap? We've already started. He's filming. Oh, man, they're getting piercing. They're piercing. Welcome to another episode of the Give Me 5 podcast. I'm your host, Chris Gilmour, and we have Mr. Josh Smith.
Hi guys.
The original Josh Smith.
And still the best.
So Josh, we were talking before off camera about money, and money doesn't buy happiness. For me, money buys happiness. If you followed us before, we have really stepped up our notch in the podcast game. We now have our own LED, and it's fancy as shit, man. Like did we push record? We did. Oh.
Keep going. No editing. No editing.
We did. Like it flashes, it twinkles, like it. Look at
there we
this.
go.
Look at
There we
this.
go.
Look at that, right on cue. Right, and it'll blow out the video as well.
Looks like a strip joint.
It does, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So money does buy happiness in my world, mate.
Absolutely.
Because it buys me shit like that. The coolest thing ever. The coolest thing ever.
You get one for your office as well.
Oh, I was thinking one at the front window.
There you go.
So, anyway, let's rip into it, man. We are doing.
What's up? What's going on?
We're doing real estate. You know, the last couple have been non-real estate, but
Okay.
I think today's talk has to be around real estate because there is a lot going on in the current market. So, obviously, 11 out. So, there's been a year now of rate rises.
It's all rises.
So
Other than one, wasn't it?
We had 11 out of 12, but we have now trickled over of 12 months of straight rate rises, with 11 being in there. So we're starting to see a little bit of hurt, still not a lot, not where I think everyone
We've
thought.
definitely starting to see a few calls now with people, maybe just edging around the reality, but you can definitely feel it's starting. It's starting to happen.
And if we go back to a couple of episodes ago, we were predicting September, October for that to really trickle over, and I still think we're on that current path for sure around that. So.
Well, by the time it gets to that, the normal spring selling season, that everyone's got that thing in their head that you put your property on the market in spring. By the time they've had that pain. Yeah.
Why is it?
I don't understand. I think it's something that actually originates from like the US.
Yep.
Like where I lived in Michigan, where there's this much snow on the ground through the winter. So you wait till the summertime when all the snow and everything's gone and you can move around.
But didn't they have The Simpsons, Mr. Plow?
Well, that's like it's hard work.
Can we get a Mr. Plow? Like Mr. Plow.
Call Mr. Plow. That's my name. That name again is Mr. Plow.
That was like the coolest Simpsons episode.
Shoveling snow is not the most fun thing in the
I've
world.
never seen snow, so.
Haven't you?
No. Believe it or not. So my wife hates the cold. So we're always going to tropical places. Yep. I want to go to the snow because I want to snowboard and shit like that.
Okay.
I've flown over snow and seen the white, but I've never physically been to the
where
snow.
I lived in Michigan, like the weather would roll across from Canada across the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And it's what they call lake effect snow. There's something to do with by the time it comes across the water and everything, it's big, fat, clumpy snow. But
I can see you building snowmans.
yeah, but you know what? Actually, all the guys that grow up in the snow, like when you turn up over there and you're not a snow person, and they all know you're a dumbass about it.
Yeah.
And they all do the same thing. They bend down and they get a snowball and they throw it in the air and they watch you watch the snowball, and while you're watching the one that's in the air, another one hits you in the face.
Yeah.
It's just a standard thing. It's the way it's.
I would so love to do that
Pick
to
the
you.
new snow guy.
I would
and belt
so
him in the face.
like the gel blasters. I wonder if they could make like snow blasters, like where you just fire people. So you're like running, trekking through the snow, and you pick it up, put it in.
Pretty solid for it to not explode as it
Look,
comes
man,
out.
they make LED lights. They can make anything.
Absolutely. You know where the first place I actually saw snow fall was? In the desert in California. When I moved to California, first day that I got
You get around a lot.
Yeah, for sure. In the
Italy.
in the desert, falling snow, and I went, that's not where I was expecting to see that happen for the first time.
Where haven't you lived? You've done
So I
Europe.
haven't lived in
UK?
No, I've never been to England, but I've lived in Italy, lived in the US for a few years.
You've been to Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah. You hate Vegas, don't you? Vegas is not your
Vegas is
thing.
a shithole.
Okay.
It is a shithole.
Okay. I love Vegas.
Yep.
Never been to Vegas.
Yeah, no.
But I'm not gonna
No.
I want to get into that country.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're on the blacklist now. you just told him that shithole.
I am on the
So,
blacklist.
hey, man, we've just segued like the last 6 minutes, not about real estate.
Okay, let's get back to real estate.
Man,
Let's
typical.
talk about-
That is so Josh Smith.
That's my fault now.
Yeah, absolutely. You just always go off tangents,
It's my
man.
fault.
Absolutely, you do.
All right.
All right, so the
let's
current
go.
market, interest rates going up.
Up,
All right,
up,
a little
up,
bit of
up.
hurt. We're still on that projection. We feel is going to be towards the end of the year.
Yes.
And if that is right, we're going to see a very different market, right? Because if the spring season comes in, what happens? More properties come to market. And if there's a lot more hurt, buyers are going to have more choice, price is going to drop. I hope that doesn't happen.
I think the biggest thing, though, is actually going to be that if the people, as they start feeling the mortgage
pinch,
stress,
yep.
if they wait too long, if they sort of just stick their head in the sand and keep going, that you're going to get to a point where it becomes a case of now I have to sell, and that's where it then starts to lead to...
Well, they'll get desperate.
Exactly, and desperate sales, and all of a sudden there'll be sales
Pull everything down.
and that resets the benchmark,
Correct.
and that's when things
Correct.
take a steep dip.
Yeah.
You know, so...
We hope that doesn't happen. But the good news is, and we're doing it again today. You know, we've got the property in Forest Lake. Where's the other one? We've got that's going to Hammer and Tongs, Regent's Park, right? So
Mills.
we're still, Greenbank. So we've got 3 on the go today as well too, where we're seeing multiple offers, and we're still probably. I was talking to
the one in Regent Circuit.
Forest Lake.
So that was 33 groups came through.
Yeah, we had another one with 26 groups on the weekend. So we're still seeing huge numbers. You know, I think it's in that lower price bracket, which we call now lower. You know, it's not those 300, 400s.
But it's
now,
when it's priced properly.
They are. And that's what we're going to talk about today is pricing a home properly. And how do you price a home properly? And what different methods? Right, because there are still 100 different ways you can skin a cat, as
Absolutely.
they would say. But it's not doom and gloom yet.
No.
There's a little bit of pinch coming. We can see that. But if we price everything right, and what we're talking about when we walk into sellers' homes, how do you want to sell your home? Which sort of method? Private treaty, auction, whatever way. We pitch both. We're still seeing probably 98% of our homes are getting multiple offers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And what a multiple offer is for the listeners is more than one buyer making an offer to purchase that property. And we're seeing, like the one in Regents, I think we're still averaging about 9.3 offers out of the one person.
Yes.
So that old traditional, hey, I would make an offer, counter offer back from the seller, we'll meet in the middle and it's done up to 3. We're averaging 9.3. So 3 times more from the one buyer.
But even the reality is with that, the way that we do it, that's 9.3 increases.
Correct.
With no counter offer from us.
Yeah,
so it's all the buyer giving.
Don't give away all our secrets.
No, but that's...
Because our competition wants this.
No, well, they can't have it.
Hi, Phil. Right? So, it's... we know they watch and they listen, but, it's a good thing. We have it. They don't. But that allows that for us to do that for our sellers. But even not our market just here in Logan and Brisbane, it's still Australia-wide. I still talk to all of my mates and they're in all different markets. They're still experiencing the same. It's just not just here.
Well, it's that whole supply and demand
Correct.
situation, isn't it? And I guess, one of the things that you're seeing talked a little bit about along the way is, the current state of the building side of things. So there's no rescue coming, in the form of, building of properties to throw that. But what we're talking about with mortgage stress getting to the point, that's the thing that has the potential to tip the balance of
Correct.
supply and demand
Absolutely.
back the other way.
Absolutely.
Building's not going to rescue us or
they can't
rescue
build.
that situation.
We can't even sell half the land we have.
Yeah.
Last year it was liquid gold. When you got land, it was done within half an hour. You had buyers lining up for it.
Well, that's where the near new, the only a couple of year old homes are getting massive interest, aren't they? Because the people that would normally be looking at building that are saying, nah, not interested in that.
Yep.
And if you've got one only a couple of years old, they're flying off the shelf.
Yep. But it's not doom and gloom. People are still transacting. I transacted today. I just got news. I've just put another property under contract. So I'm in the game and I'm buying in this market. You know what I mean? I'm not waiting until September when everyone thinks it's going to drop. Like, and that's probably our advice to everyone. Like, you know, you've got to be in the game, not on the sideline watching, because you know you could miss that opportunity. So you know, an opportunity on the weekend, as you know, came up. We've done it. Deal's been done. We'll follow how that goes. But you know, that's in this market.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So for me, it doesn't matter when the market is. So, you know, we sold our flipper, what was that, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. Bang, did what I wanted to do there. Another opportunity has now come up. I've jumped onto it. And yeah, you know, so for anyone wondering if it's a good time to buy and sell, well, we're in the game. We're still doing it. So,
and it also depends on the agent, doesn't there? Like, there's some agents out there that are better, to buy from. Some agents are clearly better to buy from.
You know, and like I can talk really highly of the agent who we've just brought this property through. Like, it's on the Gold Coast, right? So it's another apartment on the beach, which is what I like for investments. It's currently rented at an astronomical amount per week, right? To the point where it's almost positive geared, right? In this, and it's a big price bracket, but it's in the building I want, right? It's above the floor level that I want. And when I reached out to him, he knew who I was, and he treated me normal, right? Like, you know, did give me some information that probably shouldn't have given me some information, but you know, that's, you know, you ask the right questions, you can get the info. And that just led to, you know, how I went into my negotiations with that. Made the time, we got there, viewed it. He was more than accommodating, friendly, had the whole family there, the kids were there. You know, he didn't have to show us around the complex because we know the complex and stuff like that, but still made that time. He reached out afterwards. Do we have any questions? Sent a text. There was another follow-up. We went back to him yesterday, sent me the contract. Just got the word just now, bang, your lucky numbers just come through. So from going through the ordeal with him, it was so easy. You know what I mean? And I think that also helps.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll get later into the podcast
the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, buying real estate's not real hard if you're a genuine buyer.
Yeah, true.
Like, if you're actually ready to buy something, in most cases. Yeah,
but the agents can be dicks, you know. Like we've got a client, right? One of our past clients. We didn't sell the home. We weren't successful. They went with another agent after us, dropped it 300 grand. Finally got it sold. Blah blah blah. They are back on the market, right? So they moved, right? And they're living somewhere, and we've got a property now that they're interested. So they want to move again and buy that one. But they this morning they said. There was another property that they wanted to look at with one of our biggest competitors, and who's probably watching. And basically they said, we want to go through this home. And the agent said, well, you're not selling your home with us, so we're not taking you through this one. Now, mind you, he sold their last home for them. But because they didn't have a real good experience...
What would the seller of that home think about
absolutely.
that?
I'm trying to get the address because I'll go and knock on the door. They've got a buyer there.
Think about that. But that's when you get to the point where you're just not acting in
the best
interest of the owner of the property
you're
representing.
Who cares if they're selling it with someone else?
Only in your own...
Yeah, but mega ego, right? They paid this agent commission years ago, so they're a past client of this agent, and where they've moved to is out of an area like where we all don't sort of sell, and they're selling. But he expected them to call him and or whatever and said, "But no, you're not selling your current home with us, so we're not taking you through this." Like, what a douche! But like, come on through. Like, we've got this one here. Like, we'll show them through ours, like, every day of the week.
We're in the business of
selling real estate. Absolutely. So,
strangely enough.
But, you know, and we're going to talk about that. That's our third note on for today's podcast. How to select an agent. Like, we're going to give some tips to the listeners on what to ask and what to look for. Like, we'll give you the inside info. Like, how to, if you're not in Logan, how can they, because if they're in Logan, they should be calling us.
They should be.
But, if they're outside of Logan or wherever they
They
are.
should probably still call us anyway.
Yeah, call us because we can probably give you some really good recommendations on who to go for, in what areas. So we'll get to that. But let's go back to pricing your home. So we've been having convos, sellers, no matter the market, Josh, sellers are always up here. The market's here and buyers are here. That's no matter what's going on in the economy.
Other than for 18 months through COVID.
It was
when we
us, whatever.
take that out of it,
But, traditionally it's seller, market, buyer. Okay.
And our job is to find the middle ground where everyone can agree.
And it's generally the seller says, I've given it away, and the buyer goes, I paid too much. And the agent goes, it was a good deal. Right, that's how it normally flares out, doesn't it? Right.
Well,
so
people do lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, real estate transactions, by definition, have to be a win-win outcome because
both
if both parties don't actually feel as though they're getting that it's going to work for them, then a deal won't get done.
It's a win. It is. Yeah. Both parties have said yes. So we're just the piece in the middle to make it all happen. But how can an owner out there price their home? Right, so because you're going to have the old debate, and we'll do a full podcast session, just private treaty versus auction, right? But that's not up for discussion. Like some people are going to be more comfortable with auction, and some people are going to be more comfortable with private treaty. That's just the way it is, right? There's a Coles and there's a Woolworths. There's just not one supermarket. You know what I mean? In real estate, there's multiple different ways you can sell your home.
Agreed.
Right. What we're finding in the current trend is, our competitors are still pushing auction. Are they getting success? Yeah, they are. I think not as much as what it was back then. We're finding the ones that are being priced are selling probably faster.
Yes.
I feel that there's been a switch with buyers in their time. I think at the moment, people don't really want to be jacked around. The property that I brought on the weekend, it had a price on it. Made it very easy. I understood and know where it should have sat.
Yeah.
And it was well above that. But where I've offered was, well below that, and with, win-win situation. He said yes, we've said yes, right? So should an owner go, like, where should they start? Should they look at what's going on in their suburb and go, look, 90% of every home in our suburb has got a price, or 90% of our suburb is selling with an auction? Or, do you think, because some agents just push their own agenda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it's the worst thing for that seller is, no, that's how we do it, and that's the way we're going to push.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We give options and understand where the client wants to be. So we've got that old story. If you overprice your home, what's going to happen?
Silence.
Okay. So what happens? They sit on the market for 2 weeks, get a couple of inquiry, maybe one or two people come through. At the end of the 2 weeks, they've got to adjust their price. Right? Yeah. So you've missed your key part of selling, first 2 weeks.
They just end up chasing
They're chasing the market instead of the market chasing the home.
I think a lot of people like lose sight or just don't understand that idea of when you go and put your house on the market, it's not, I'll put my house on the market today and a buyer comes along today and buys the house. You've got those people that are in the market, have been in the market for some time, a bit of a backlog of people. They've seen properties, they've looked at a bunch of stuff. They know what's sold and all of that. And they're now, they understand what they want and waiting for the right thing to come up so they can act. If you put the property on the market too high, those people go, whatever.
Yep.
You make the wrong impression. You miss that backlog of people. Now you're just getting the new people coming to market. Whereas if you price it properly and make it what you want is those people that are a bit of a backlog to go, I've got to go and look at that home. It's that step-by-step process. And it starts, they sit in front of their computer, they're looking at it, and the first step is, I need to go and look at that. Like, that's it. The pricing of the property ultimately is just to achieve the first step. I think a lot of people where they go wrong is they're trying to make the price.
They're going for the kill.
That's it. They're trying to make it the end. It's not. It's just.
It's a process.
It's just the beginning.
And we always say to our sellers, it's like a 4-step process. One, they've got to see it online first, so we've got to have the marketing correct. They'll then probably send an email inquiry. Is it available? 3, they'll then probably go and drive by.
They've got to get it on the short list to go and look
And
at, whether it be drive
that's
past
right.
and have a look,
Yep.
or just come to an open or book an inspection.
That's
But
right.
You move from the computer to the car.
Yeah, and the whole point is to get them physically to that home and in. So, it's a 5, 6, 7-step process by the end of it. Once they're in, and then they'll probably want a second viewing, and then it goes to contract and negotiations. So we, and we always say it's not how long the buyer, the home has been on the market, it's how long has the buyer been in the market. I know there's one suburb in Logan where very few homes come up, and we've got buyers on there for 2-3 years until that one property comes up. If I'm a buyer for another apartment in my apartment block on the coast in Broady, right, where I've already got one. If this one comes up, I will snap it on the day.
Yeah.
Right, and then an owner goes, "Oh, we sold that too cheap." Well, hang on a minute. I've owned my last one in there. I brought 8 years ago. I am waiting for this one to come up in that. And when it does,
so that's where people lose sight of what it's all about. Like as agents, I think people think that we're meant to go out there and just go find some people and then convince one of those people to pay more money or pay lots of money. The job is to go find the right person, the person who's going to be, the person that's the right person that's going to pay and a lot of the time they're the person that's been in the marketplace for a while, maybe missed some things, or they've seen some other things, they know exactly what they want. How often do you see people when they come to an inspection, it's as often a part of the process of really identifying what they don't want as much as what they do want, to get it down to the point where they understand exactly what they're after, and when they see it, they want to act. And that's what it should be when you launch your property, that you're putting it in front of those people that understand exactly what they want, and when they see it, that you position it in a way where they go, I've got to go and look at that, and I've got to go and look at it now.
Well, it's just purely timing. You know what I mean? I wasn't looking for another apartment on the Gold Coast until I'd done, right? Now that's done. And then the one that we've just put under contract today, that's been on the market for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Bang, done. So does old mate go sold too cheap, or you know what I mean? No, it was I'm the right buyer that wanted a unit in that particular building at that particular time.
Yeah.
And I know only 8 a year come up.
So probably, if you want to get really philosophical about it, depends on whether they've got a modern philosophy on how properties sell, meaning if you think about just the pure concept of the way that homes sell now, with people looking at them online, versus think about when I first started, back in the dark ages, last century, when you would take a photo of a home and put it in the window of the office, and back then it was a process of this could take a long time before the right person actually walks past the window. When it was done that way, it could be the case of, we think we sold it too quick because, how many people have even seen the property when that was the way it was done? Whereas now you work on the idea of, the best buyers for any property really are almost certainly going to have some sort of an alert set up that when the property comes to market, they get notified of it straight away. Day one. Day one is the best day to sell all property, because that's when you're going to have the biggest backlog of people that are, most prepared to jump and not miss out again or this time.
Absolutely. So we still believe, though, and we'll be on the record for this on this podcast, underpricing your home will get a much better result than overpricing.
I prefer to say that you absolutely can overprice a home,
but you can never.
You can't underprice it.
Absolutely.
Because whatever price you put on it, if it's worth more than that, if you put it too low, multiple people are going to look at it and go, that almost seems too cheap. Come and look at it, and then you're going to have numerous people.
Works every time.
Yeah, you absolutely, you can overprice them. So, you almost can't underprice them.
Absolutely. So, and we've spoken about your scenario.
Give us a call if you'd like some more information and a deeper explanation on how that actually works, because I know that sounds counterintuitive to a lot of people. My dad told me when I was a little fella, You never start a negotiation from a position of weakness. If you want this, you have to start here and that just doesn't work.
No.
Just doesn't work.
No, absolutely. Because also too, if you price yourself out, from where that market really is legitimately going to be, then you've missed your best buyer.
And even probably more so, if you price it too high, nothing happens, and you've got people that have seen that property and they're looking, in that suburb, they're looking online all the time.
Yep.
Now they get to the point a couple of weeks from now where they then actually see a price reduction and they instinctively think, they've got a problem.
Yeah, what's going on?
Or they're struggling.
Desperate.
And that straight away leads them to the idea of, I'm going to be able to go in here and try and lowball this person.
Absolutely.
As we always talk about, you have 33 groups of people through an open home. No one's there thinking,
how cheap am I going to
get to lowball? It's just not going to happen.
They're all looking at each other with dagger eyes going, mate, like how high do I need to be to get this?
But okay, even like when I came and saw you in your office this morning on that one, and we talked about the idea of like, here it is playing out exactly again. You've got that offers over price.
Well, let's talk about it because it's real. We've got it priced at offers over $599.
Yep.
Right. So our clients purchased it during COVID, have made some money out of it, pure investment. Now they're selling, right? Just to cash in a little bit and do whatever else they want to do.
Profit made. Right? Let's move on.
Majority of the homes in that area are selling around the 600s. Ours is less bedroom, but we've styled it, we've dressed it up and presented it, so we feel we can push that sort of money. If we can get around that 600K for the home, they're going to consider it. They'd love a lot higher than that. And we got one of the offers was 570.
Well, so that's there's our bargain hunter.
Right. So it's no different when we do the triangle.
There's always going to be that person.
Well, even if we can't hear, if I had a whiteboard, that would be fancy too. But if we do our triangle, the bottom of the triangle. Oh, here's your triangle here. Right, you've got more people as bargain hunters, you've got market value, and then you've got your emotional buyer. You've got your three-pronged process of where your buyers are going to sit. Your 570 buyer is going to compete with your emotional buyer. Now, our emotional buyer is at 640.
Yep. But that's what
70 grand more
than like listed at offers over $599. We got an offer at $599.
Yep.
And we got an offer at 600. There's those two people.
Yep. Well, and then you got your bargain hunter at 570.
But then we also had some people that came straight out the gate at
620.
620 and they're now.
Well, one's now at 655.
Yep.
So that's what I mean. So if I was to price it, so let's talk about a Charlton in Regent's Park.
Yeah.
Right. So our client's a national rugby union player, right? Now living in France, right? Has completely trusted us in the whole process. Doesn't know what the market's doing here, and said investment property, want to sell it, Chris? Bang, bang, bang. Right. The market was telling us low sixes, right? We priced it at 649, and we had 31 groups through.
Yeah.
0 offers.
Yes.
Last weekend.
Yes.
0 offers. With 31 groups coming through that home. Now, I thought I priced it like cracker, right, at that price. I'd sold mine for 620, 3-bed, 1-bath. This is a 422, 600 block, a lot newer, staged it. But all the feedback was it was really small.
In the living area.
Yeah, the kitchen, dining, living was just way too small for a 422 that there was really no room for growth. So to have 31 groups through and 0 offers in this market, that instantly was feedback for us.
Yeah.
Right? What have we got wrong? Price. Okay. Yeah. So
it's the old that old saying that often like silence is like no feedback is real feedback. Is real
absolutely.
Feedback.
That's absolutely it is. When nothing's going on, that's feedback, right? So basically what we then did was we then dropped it dramatically, 50 grand. Offers over 599, where this was like this is too good to be true. Like people are like, is this right? And then what happened? 24 or 48 hours later, we sell at 630.
Away we go. Yep.
Multiple offers, bang. But priced at 649, we still couldn't find the buyer that was prepared to pay 630. 19,000 less. That's all we're talking.
Yeah.
All right. Priced it at 599 plus, got them in, got another 400 groups through, competing, and they're the highest offer at 630.
Yep.
It just baffles me. But we do that all the time.
So which of those two ways is the best way to go about getting the result? But as we talk to people about,
but I thought I was right.
But we see
beginning.
it every single day.
We do.
And it's understandable when you've got people that have, maybe never sold a home, maybe haven't sold one in a long time, and still think that whole, you've got to price it high, so you've got some room to move.
Yeah. I honestly don't think you can ever undersell a home. Ever.
No.
Ever. And we get that old cliche, not going to give it away, Chris.
Haven't given one away yet.
16 years, I've never given one away. Don't come at us with, what I mean? Like, our job is to advise on what we feel is the best way.
If it actually got to the point where it was too cheap, one of us would buy
I will be buying
it.
it. You know what I mean? But like that wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? And it never happens because you've got enough people, there's enough money out there, the market is still supplying low amount of properties for sale. You just need to draw on that. So pricing your home, for the listeners it is critical in no matter what the market's doing, right? It's critical and it has been from day dot. Now you can do that with a price or without a price. That's for another podcast.
Yeah.
So how does an owner then choose the right agent? Like, what should an owner be looking at for the right agent? They're in Campbelltown in New South Wales, or they're in Tea Tree Gully or Elizabeth in Adelaide. Like, how do these owners, when they're listening to this, because you've got 180,000 real estate agents in Australia, whatever the number is, right? To choose from.
And 160,000 of them will tell you that they're the number one in their area in some weird metric.
And there's a lot of trophies given out with everyone's name on them, apparently. But anyway, so some key things I think is, results are a big thing.
Look at how many properties they've sold in the last 12 months. I mean, that's
a good indication.
That's the best metric out of everything. If you sell a lot of homes, you sell a lot of homes.
Yep.
And
okay, so I get that a lot because we sold 250 homes, and I know my competition go, he just turns them over. Well, hang on a minute.
Go look at the reviews. Go see.
Reviews are the second thing, right? Absolutely, because people can leave reviews on any platform without us even asking them.
Absolutely.
Right. So, for me, I think an agent that sells a lot of homes is who I would go for. One, because they're going to see more buyers, which therefore is going to expose your home to more people. There's a reason why this person's selling more homes than anyone else. Right? So they've got more eyeballs, builds more competition. Reviews is another good thing. So they can jump onto realestate.com, now have reviews. You can check out Google reviews as well too. So there's multiple platforms there where they can look at reviews. I think any other platform are manipulated.
There are a few others out there where it's people don't realise what really.
I think realestate.com and Google are probably your two legitimate ones.
They're the two most genuine.
I believe so. Where it can't be manipulated. Signs, driving around, signs, right? So it's one of my competitors sells a lot of homes. Mine says sold, his doesn't, right? But that generally, so it's not, I don't think they should look at ones that have just got for sale.
We should probably even at that stage, even when people jump online to go and have a look, as silly and all as it sounds, look in the sold section, not the for sale section.
Absolutely. So that's another thing. So look at reviews, look at how many properties they're selling and how many are they selling to how many reviews do they have, because you can sell a lot of homes and then they'll never use you again.
And have a whole bunch of people that are not happy, so that the agent never asked for a review.
Correct.
Because they knew they'd get a bad one.
Yeah, it'd be a bad one. Signboards, so drive around your area. Are they active in your letterbox? Are you getting mail from them? Are they, open homes? Right. So a couple of key little points from me. What I'll always say, if you're looking at engaging an agent or testing an agent, ring the agent. How quickly do they answer the phone? If they don't answer the phone, leave them a message to call you back. Do they call you back?
Yeah.
Right? Another one is send an email pretending you're a buyer. What sort of response did you get? Did you get, no, sorry, it's under contract, and conversation closed? Yeah. Do you not even get an email response? How quick do they email you back? Like, you emailed them on Monday and they're getting back to you on a Thursday. Go to their open homes. test them.
Yeah.
Walk in as a buyer and see how do they greet you, how do they conduct themselves, how are they talking to
Do
the
they
people.
actually give you a follow-up call?
Yeah,
afterwards?
is there a follow-up after that open
Yeah.
home? So there is a lot of key metrics there. Like, it's just one thing to see all these signboards.
Do they actually ask you if you want to
Buy the home? Yeah, you can try and close it. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of different ways that owners out there can select an agent, and because it's critical. Because, like, I know between me and my competitors, you know, there is a huge difference in what we can sell some properties for.
Yeah.
You know, what's their marketing like? Do they present well with their homes on the internet? Are they, you know, floor plans? Is there video? Are there drones? Professional photos? Are they daytime? Are they nighttime?
Look at the listings that they've got currently.
Absolutely.
And look at it
get
and
a feel.
say, is that how I would want my home to look? Like,
Yeah.
there's the example of how they do things.
Yeah.
Is the way that agent does stuff the way that you would want your home
Absolutely.
sold.
So I don't think that it's all, you know, some people go, oh, you've got to sell just with that local agent. You know, like, I sell homes 20, 30 minutes away from where we're not local.
No, look, let's just put this, like, once upon a time, kids, selling with the local agent was all about, before the internet, when there was a, you know, ABC office local that people would go and sell, you were dependent on having people come and look in the window of that office. That's when the local agent absolutely was a necessity. People don't buy like that anymore. No. People go on, it's on the internet. So who's making the property look, who does the best job on the internet, as we said, as the first move to get them to the property.
Absolutely. So for me, in the order would be, how many are they selling, and then look at reviews. That's number 1 and 2. Drive around your area and have a look at active signboards. Do they say for sale, or are the sold boards going up fairly quickly?
Yeah.
Test them, call them, right? How quick do they answer? Do they follow up? Test them as a buyer, send an email, go to their open home. Are you getting follow-up calls?
And then get them out to your house and have them come out and meet and sit down and have.
Do they have a plan?
Have a conversation with them and ask them.
Yeah.
Not just how much is my house worth.
Yeah.
A better question is, how are you going to get me the highest price for my house?
Yeah.
Because when they walk in and say, what's my house worth?
Absolutely.
You know, oh, let's just make up the highest number that we think.
Yeah, buy the
person
listing.
wants. Yeah.
And then we'll smash it.
Much better to ask.
Absolutely.
How are you going to do it?
What is
What's
your plan?
Strategy? What's your plan?
Yep. Absolutely.
How are you going to get
And some owners pick it on commission, right? So if you've got someone that's at 2.5% and someone that's 2.8%, you're like, are you going to go with that agent that didn't do any of that to save $400? Come on. You know what I mean? The commission should be the absolute last thing that they even talk about, because a good agent's going to charge you more than most.
If you get a higher price for the property, the commission almost pays for itself.
Correct. Absolutely.
And the old thing of, if an agent's prepared to give away their own money that quick, how fast are they going to be prepared to give away your money?
Absolutely. Like, I've got my boat on the market. Which agent? I selected the agent, and his fees are so much higher than anyone else's.
Yeah.
But he does the business.
But if he's the right guy, it'll be worth it.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? It's that's all good. So look, I think, mate, really good podcast. You waffled on at the beginning, so we've got to cut that out.
Snow talk.
We'll do another podcast around snow. Where's the best place to go and visit the snow, and at what times?
I prefer the beach. So
I'll beach, hands down. So but some key points there in current market. How to price your home as well too, and how to select an agent. I think this is a podcast they can go back and constantly listen to, and just write down some notes and what should they be asking that agent. So there you go, guys. There's another episode of the Give Me 5 podcast. I'm your host, Chris Gilmour.
I'm Josh. If you'd like to sell your property or like to get an update on what it might be worth here in
Call Josh.
Logan City or South East Queensland, give us a call. More than happy to come and have a chat with you.
Thanks for listening.